For the first time this season, if it's Thursday night, say yeah. For it is the season premiere of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. Yes, indeed, we're here. Hello, friends. Anthony Floyer here with you for another exciting season of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. This is what we're going to be doing for the next, 3 months or so until right around December or so. So sit back and relax and get ready as we are going to dissect another exciting college football season. Of course, the last one ended in the most exciting of fashions with Clemson winning the national championship against Alabama in the greatest championship game we ever saw. And we'll see if the final two standing come January will be just as exciting. But for now, I'm joined by good old MF Michael Fletcher. Michael Bullock will be a little late coming in, as always, but he will be with us. And when he comes in, we'll simply catch him up on what he missed. Well, two games have already been decided in week one already. They went down last Saturday. Number 19, South Florida, with a 42-22 win over San Jose State, and number 14, Stanford, with an easy 62-7 beatdown of Rice. And right now, Oklahoma State laying it to Tulsa, 52-17, and they have a red zone alert right now. So looks like they're going to add to that lead. But that's number 10 Oklahoma State. But the game we need to keep our eye on right now is on ESPN in Bloomington, Indiana, at Memorial Stadium. The number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes are losing. They're losing to Indiana 14-13, if you can believe it, with 9:55 remaining in the third quarter. MF and I, maybe Bullock when he comes in, we will definitely keep you posted on the happenings of that one. We might have an upset. Could you imagine opening night we get a massive upset? Oh, that would be some major Shakespearean drama and definitely a major shakeup in our power poll for next week when we debut our power poll. There will be no power poll this week, however, because it is week one. So all we're gonna do, we're just gonna run down the slate of games for this week, and that's it. And as I look at the schedule for this week, we got 2 games tomorrow, and then of course the big slate on Saturday. I believe we have 15 games on Saturday, a Sunday game, a Sunday night game, and of course the traditional Labor Day Monday night game as well. So I think we got about 19 games or so. So and we're gonna do something different here on the show this season. Um, and I know MF will agree with me on this. What I propose we do, if anytime we see a game that we think is going to be a dud enhancement game or whatever, no need for in-depth detail about it. We're just gonna zoom right through those. The only games we will go in depth on are those mega matchups, and there's 2 of them that I see right off the corner of my eye that we're definitely gonna go in depth on. Believe me, and we'll let you know when those come in. But I believe there's like a good maybe 4 or 5 big games this week. I mean, I can honestly say this week is not really the most exciting of weeks when it comes to matchups because there are a lot of dud enhancement games in here. So, we'll just get into it as soon as we can. And you know how we do it here. If you're just joining us for the first time, um, we're gonna give you our picks for each game involving top 25 teams, and we'll also tell you where to find it. We'll also tell you who's going to be calling it, and the network it's on, and the whole 9 yards, the schematics, and that's it. So, MF, if you're ready, let's dive on in, my man, and we'll catch Bullet up when he comes in, whenever he comes in. So, all right, here we go. First game on the docket will be tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time on Fox Sports 1. It will be the number 8 Washington Huskies squaring off against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. High Point Solutions Stadium in Piscataway, New Jersey. And one other thing, we'll also be giving you the spreads for the game as well, how much they're favored. And Washington going into this game 27 to 27.5 point favorites to knock off Rutgers tomorrow night. That's not a big surprise. And on the call for that one, it's going to be the A team for Fox. It's going to be Gus Johnson with Joel Klatt and Jenny Taft. They're going to be in Piscataway, New Jersey for Washington and Rutgers. And, well, I'll just try to keep it as short and sweet as I can. It's got to be Washington. I mean, they were so great last year. I mean, they were one of the big surprises last year. They went 12-2. They made the college football playoff, but they lost. I believe it was Alabama that knocked them off, if I recall correctly. And there's no getting away from the hype. And I mean, this team, you know, they still got their core players. They still got Jake Browning and Myles Gaskin coming back for the offensive side, and the defensive side with Azeem Victor. Well, Azeem Victor, I apologize. He's going to miss the game because he's been suspended for violating team rules. So Jake Browning will be back, and he underwent off-season surgery on his passing shoulder, but he has fully recovered. And Rutgers will be breaking in a new quarterback, Kyle Bolin, and who was a graduate transfer from Louisville. And seniors Robert Martin and Gus Edwards will share the ball carrying duties, and so we'll see what happens. But for me, I have to go with Washington. I mean, I think they're just too good, and Rutgers has not really been that, you know, that great team in college football. I mean, I think they had like a couple of good years about a decade or so ago, but I haven't really seen much of anything from them. So I know it's in Piscataway, and you know, I'm sure Rutgers is gonna, you know, don't take Rutgers too lightly. Even though I still think Washington's going to win the thing going away, I think Rutgers can give them some fits early, but I think ultimately Washington will come away with the win in this one. So that's all I can say there. So MF, Washington was one of the teams you were very high on last year, and I know you're going to be high on them again this year. I think they're a playoff caliber team again this year.
Well, I think this time around it's going to be a lot more tougher for Washington because I think the Pac-12 is a lot more deeper this time around. I think USC's definitely got a chance. Stanford, what we saw they do in the last couple of days, they looked amazing, man. So there's Washington, you're really going to have your work cut out. Plus, on top of that, you lost a lot of seniors, a lot of great guys to the NFL as well. So even though I think they'll win this first game against Rutgers, because I hate to say this, but Rutgers is a really bottom of the barrel team in the Big Ten, and I think they're going to have an easy time with Rutgers. I should say Washington will have an easy time with the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, but when it comes to it down the line, long term, who knows? But one thing's for sure, I do have Washington winning this, going away pretty easily. So yeah, Anthony, on to the next game.
And keep your mic on, MF, because you're going to be leading off on our next matchup. It's the other Friday game. Before we get into that, I believe Ohio State has just taken the lead.
Yes, they have. On a rushing touchdown, I think it was Cardale Jones. Actually, he took it into the house. Touchdown.
No, Cardale Jones is no longer in Ohio State.
I mean,
in the NFL.
Let me see. Who is it? I know it was a rushing touch. Is it? No, it's not Barrett. Or is it? Let me see. I'm going to see. It was. Yes, it was JT Barrett. I stand corrected. JT Barrett with the touchdown.
Okay, yes. JT Barrett, 2-yard rushing touchdown. And they added the extra point. So with 6:57 to go in the third, Ohio State with a 20-14 lead now on Indiana. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that one. And Oklahoma State, they added a score. So it's 59-17 against Tulsa. Needless to say, they're going to win that one. All right, MF, like I said, keep your mic on for the next one. There is another game tomorrow night. 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. From Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, the number 9 Wisconsin Badgers squaring off against the Aggies of Utah State. And it'll be Adam Amin, Dusty Dvoracek, and Molly McGrath. They're going to be on the call for that one. And the spread favors Wisconsin by 27.5 points. So,
yep.
MF, right up your alley. Big Ten team, although it's not your favorite Big Ten team, but I know it's one you respect very much in Wisconsin.
Oh, absolutely. And Wisconsin had a very good season a year or so ago. I know a lot of people kind of felt like that was kind of a one that got away. Understandable. I kind of feel like this could be the year where they could really do some damage. And I know their schedule is very promising. If you're talking about Wisconsin for the upcoming year, a lot of people's got some very high expectations. Let's say that. For this team, but their schedule is actually pretty good at the beginning, but then you get the is towards the end. But the big test is going to be November 11th when they go up against Iowa, and then November 18th the next week when they go up against Michigan. They're fortunate this time around; they don't have to play Ohio State. But maybe this might be the year you want to play Ohio State, especially after what's going on here tonight. So no, but at the end of the day, you got to handle your business, do what you got to do, play within the system, and play the best football you can, and that's what Wisconsin does. Utah State, unfortunately, you're a sacrificial lamb on this one, my friends. I do believe that they'll get the job done. I do think that they're gonna win this game, and I do have Wisconsin pretty much in a laugher going away with this one. So, yep, nothing more to say. Anthony, it's all yours.
Yeah, it's Wisconsin, no doubt about it. But don't take Utah State lightly, because 5 years ago, Utah State went into Wisconsin and they posted a solid effort. Even though Wisconsin won, it was only 16-14. But then again, that was 5 years ago. So Utah State will attempt to rebound from miserable performances on offense last year. They posted a 1-7 record in Mountain West and a 3-9 overall record. And Wisconsin's sophomore quarterback Alex Hornibrook seems poised for a productive season after he split time last year with then senior Bart Houston. And I think Hornibrook will definitely have a very good game. And he's got some tantalizing targets, most notably senior wide receiver Jazz Peavy and senior tight end Troy Fumagalli. And the running game, which we all know Wisconsin has always had a great running game. The likes of Ron Dane and just to name that. And of course, they got Braderick Shaw, who was listed as a co-starter with Pitt transfer Chris James and true freshman Jonathan Taylor, who was excellent in camp. And Taiwan Deal hopes to remain healthy after playing in only 6 games last year, hampered by ankle injuries and underwent surgery in the offseason. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But other than that, they are thinner at linebacker. But other than that, it's Wisconsin, man. There's no question about this. So I got Wisconsin winning this one going away as well. And now we go to the Saturday slate of games. High noon on ESPN. MF, your boys. This is your other favorite team right here. Your reigning, defending, undisputed college football playoff national champions, the Clemson Tigers. They're ranked number 5, and they're going to be squaring off against the Golden Flashes of Kent State. Clemson, 39.5 to 40-point favorites in this one. Wow. Huge favorites, needless to say. Mark Jones, Rod Gilmore, Quinn Kessenich on the call. And I don't think I really have to go into hardly any detail here, but it's going to be Clemson. But here's the thing, though. Nearly all those stars from the national championship team are gone. Sean Watson's gone. Gallman's gone. Williams is gone. And 28-2 over the last 2 years, 2 consecutive title game appearances, and 70-13 overall under Dabo Swinney. And yeah, Watson's gone, Williams is gone, Scott's gone, Leggett's gone, and Gallman's gone. But they still have Deion Kane, and they still have the hero of that championship game, Hunter Renfrow, they're still there, and all these new faces and everything else, but it doesn't matter. Clemson's going to roll. There's no question about this. 40-point favorites, come on. It doesn't matter if you had those guys from last year, whether you have them or not, they're going to roll. So the champs are going to be here on Saturday. So give me Clemson and a laugher. MF, I mean, needless to say, I mean, this Clemson team, practically all the stars are gone. Mm-hmm. Are they still good enough to get to the title game yet again?
I don't know about if they're good enough to get there. I mean, obviously, they're going to be a major threat in the ACC. A lot of people are going to think that they could win the ACC again. I don't know about it this time around. I don't think that they are. I think this time around it's probably going to be more like, well, there's a team out there. I'd rather not tip my hand yet. I'll tell you who that team is. Anthony, you might have an idea who I'm going for, who I think is going to win the ACC this year. So I'd rather keep it open more than anything else. Right now, yeah, it's a tough loss. That's a tough situation. But at the end of the day, you got to handle your business. You got to do what you got to do. And Clemson's got an easy opponent here. So for me, give me the Clemson Tigers to win this one. Going away, no problems whatsoever. Florio, it's yours.
And keep your mic on, MF, because you got the next one. And how fitting, it's another Big Ten team. Number 6, Penn State. Penn State Nittany Lions, Beaver Stadium. And by the way, the Clemson game's in Death Valley, of course, Memorial Stadium. Penn State will be at their home, Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. They're going to be hosting the Zips of Akron, ABC, high noon. And on the call for that one, it's going to be Beth. It's going to be well, I actually made a goof on the announcing team. I misread it. The Kent State Clemson game is going to be Beth Mowins, Anthony Beck, and Rocky Boyman. Mark Jones, Rod Gilmore, Quinn Kessenich will be on the Penn State call, by the way, just to clarify that. And Penn State, a 30.5 to a 31-point favorite. MF, I mean, Penn State coming off a Rose Bowl win. And this is a team that I think is a major dark horse this year.
Dark horse indeed. When you're talking about Penn State, oh yeah, what they did a season ago, unbelievable performance. Nobody had them going as far as they did, and they pulled it off. And to make the run that they did, get all the way to the Big Ten title, and thus getting the golden ticket to play in Pasadena and the Rose Bowl. I mean, what is there to say? It's an unbelievable season, unbelievable job for this team. Yeah, the expectations are really high for Penn State. Now that you had that unbelievable year 1 year ago, now you're thinking, all right, we've done this. Now we need to do everything that we can do to dominate and the whole 9 yards. All I can say is right now, get the job done. Penn State, you got a great opportunity, and thus your schedule is actually not that bad either this year either. So I think you're going to see a lot of good things coming from the Nittany Lions, to say the very least. Yes, they got the Murderers Row. They got to deal with Iowa. They got to deal with Michigan. They got to deal with Michigan, with Ohio State and Michigan State. So there's a big four there that they're going to have to deal with. But, they got a couple of winnable games right at the very beginning. They got one against Akron, then Pittsburgh, Georgia State. Those are 3 winnable games that you should get. Then you got Iowa in Iowa. That could be interesting. Indiana, they're giving quite a fight tonight against Ohio State right now, so we'll see what they do there. And then from there, then you're talking about some big time moves after that. Then you got Northwestern. That's, we'll see how that goes. But then 3 games in a row. Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State. Whoa, Nelly. That's going to be something to say the very least. And yes, I did the legendary Keith Jackson because it deserves that kind of recognition. So, no, this could be unbelievable. definitely, I like their chances this season. They should get an easy victory over Akron. That's first and foremost than anything else. All right, Florio, it's all yours.
I agree. I mean, and once again I stand corrected. Penn State lost the Rose Bowl against USC, but no matter what, it was still the greatest Rose Bowl game of all time. I mean, that was a 5-star classic, Shakespearean drama at its absolute finest. And yeah, Penn State, their top two guys, Trace McSorley and Saquon Barkley, they're going to be back, and you definitely have two certifiable and bona fide Heisman contenders. No question about it. I mean, with their bodies of work from last year, no question about it. And Akron's defense is god awful. I mean, they allowed 466 yards a game. They went 5-7, and oof. And of course, Penn State. Like I said, with McSorley and Barkley, setting a new rushing record, a sophomore rushing record, 1,496 yards, and McSorley with the single season records for passing yards, touchdowns, and total offense. And yeah, there's no question about it. Penn State should roll in that one. And MF, Indiana's tied it up. Indiana. Oh my, Indiana has tied the game. Well, actually, no, I stand correct. They've taken the lead. Indiana has gone back on top. Richard Legault, 2-yard touchdown pass to Ian Thomas. Extra point by Griffin Oaks is good. 21-20, Indiana on number 2 Ohio State with 4:56 to go in the third quarter. Whoa, Shakespearean drama in Bloomington, Indiana. Oh my. That's all I can say there. We will definitely keep an eye on that. And Tulsa has actually pulled to within 35 of Oklahoma State. It's 59-24, 3:47 to go in that one. So, yeah, so we're just going to move on. And next up, we have, let me find it here. Okay. Another high noon game on FS1. The number 23 Texas Longhorns at home at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, Jamale Field. They're going to be hosting the Maryland Terrapins. And that game is going to be broadcast on FS1. And on that one, it will be Justin Kutcher with Mark Helfrich, Petros Papadakis, and Jennifer Hale. They'll be on that call. And Texas is a 18.5 to 19-point favorite to defeat Maryland. And I got to go with Texas. I mean, even though this is one of those sleeper games of the week, I mean, don't think for a minute that Texas can afford to take Maryland lightly. I mean, after all, it was the Terrapins and not the Longhorns who were in a bowl game last season. Let's keep that in mind. Texas opens this year trying to wash away the taste of 3 consecutive losing seasons that resulted a second coaching change in just 4 years in the hiring of Tom Herman from Houston in November. I mean, plenty of returning starters, 7 on offense, 10 on defense, and sophomore quarterback Shane Buechele, who started all 12 games with the Longhorns, set team freshman records. He's back under center. And Maryland ended up 6-7 and enters their second year under their new head coach, DJ Durkin. And biggest question was answered Monday when Durkin named sophomore Tyrell DeGromi as his starter at quarterback after a 4-player battle at the position. And he saw action in 11 games, only 1 start. And in that 1 start, he was very well. 322 yards, 2 touchdowns with 254 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns on the ground. So watch out for that young man, indeed. And Maryland, their O-line was terrible. They allowed a Big Ten high 49 sacks. And defensively, Maryland returned 7 starters, including senior middle linebacker Jermaine Carter, who anchors the defense after leading the team with 110 tackles last year. And Maryland faces arguably the toughest schedule in the nation, with conference games later in the year against Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Penn State. Ooh, good Lord. I know MF's probably going to have a little more on that in a minute because, MF's been focused on the schedule for a lot of these teams. Texas leads the all-time series 3-0. They last met all the way back in the 1978 Sun Bowl, and Texas won that game 42-0. So I think Maryland will keep it a little close, but I think ultimately Texas will come out on top. And I say Texas pulls away maybe by 2 or 3 scores. So give me Texas in this one and to get the Tom Herman era off to a good start. So MF, sleeper game right here with Maryland and Texas.
Oh, absolutely. This is definitely a sleeper game, but I gotta go with Texas as well. I think they're definitely a better team. I don't want to say they're more superior because you never know what's gonna happen, and especially with this upcoming season, it's kind of this is their moment. They gotta really bring it all together. Can they do that? We'll wait and see what happens. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I'm gonna go with Texas as well. This is going to be very fun to say the very least. I don't know what else to say here. So, and oh, it looks like Ohio State did it again. They got the lead back. Yes, they did. They got the lead back.
Wow. What a way to start off a new college football season.
Yep.
No better way to start it off with Shakespearean drama. And let's get in on this. It was JT Barrett, a 74-yard touchdown pass to Paris Campbell. So Ohio State has just regained the lead, 26-21, 4:38 to go in the third. Oh my, Shakespearean drama indeed in Bloomington, Indiana tonight. We wouldn't have it any other way. All right.
Oh no.
So and you got Texas winning, right, MF?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So keep your mic on. We got the next one, and well, it's not a Big Ten team, but it's only fitting that it ends up being another one of your all-time favorite teams, the U, number 18, Miami Hurricanes. At your favorite, MF, Hard Rock Stadium. They're going to be hosting the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. 12:30 kickoff on the ACC network. And on the call for that will be Wes Durham, James Bates, and Rebecca Capley. And the U, the favorite, well, actually, I do not have a spread. I'm sorry to say. I don't have a spread, but I would imagine Miami has got to be a substantial favorite. So, MF, I mean, we all know you're a U fan. That your second team behind Michigan. And what are your hopes for the U this year?
Well, I mean, I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I think it's going to be a lot more better," or something like this. And you know, look, I'll say this. I think for Miami, it's really optimistic. I think that's the best way to say it. It's really more optimism than anything else. What's the season going to look like? What's it going to be? I mean, the expectations are very high, no doubt about it. Expectations are high for Miami, but again, I don't think that they're going to win the ACC. I think they're going to have a good season. I just don't see them being ACC champions when it's all said and done. I just think that they're going to have a good run. They'll make it worth the time or worth the effort. And they're going to win this game. I think that's the most important thing. They're going to win this game. I got nothing more to say about that. So, Anthony, I give it to you.
Yeah, it's the U. No doubt about it. They got a new guy in town, new quarterback. He is a junior by the name of Malik Rozier, who emerged before a four-way race in camp to be selected last week as the starter. He's replacing Brad Kaya. And he competed against sophomore Evan Sheriffs, freshman Cade Weldon, and freshman Nkosi Perry. But Mark Richt said he did stand out above the rest. And Rozier does have a start. He only has one start. It came against Duke 2 years ago when Brad Kaya was sidelined due to a concussion. And he played very well. 20 of 29 passes, 272 yards, 2 TDs, and a pick in a 30-27 win over the Dukies in Durham. And yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. And in a voter league media, though, Miami picked to win the Coastal Division, and they have standouts throughout the lineup, including running back Mark Walton, receiver Amon Richards, defensive lineman Kendrick Norton, and Chad Thomas, and linebacker Shaquille Quarterman, and kicker Michael Badgley. And Miami has won all three previous meetings against Bethune-Cookman, including their last meeting 2 years ago, a 45-0 beatdown. And yeah, I expect it'll probably be somewhere along those lines. It should be an easy win for the U, no doubt about it. And it has gone final. Number 10, Oklahoma State, an easy win over Tulsa, 59-24. I think we have our first team in the power poll for next week, no question about that. So I think we'll be seeing Oklahoma State in our power poll next week, unless some other results happen, but we'll find out. So there you go. I got Miami winning as well. And now we move on to the late afternoon kickoffs on Saturday, our 3:30 games. We only have two of them, believe it or not. The second one is the big one, but we have another dud enhancement game to get through here. Number 7, Oklahoma Sooners at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. They'll be squaring off against the Miners of UTEP, and that will be on Fox. And on that call, it will be Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, and Bruce Feldman. And Oklahoma, I believe, 43-point favorites against UTEP. Whoa, 43-point favorites. My goodness. But there's no doubt about it. It's Oklahoma. I mean, but here's the thing, though. Oklahoma's got a new head football coach. Bob Stoops retired. Lincoln Riley is the heir apparent to the Stoops throne, but you still got your Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback Baker Mayfield. But here's the thing, though: you don't have all those weapons. You don't have Samaje Perine. You don't have Joe Mixon, and I don't believe you have Dede Westbrook anymore. So, but still, Oklahoma, they're going to be tough to beat. I mean, it's going to be very tough. Of course, they're going to be in that mix. And Riley, he's got sky-high expectations with Mayfield and the offensive line. But he does have the entire offensive line back, so that's definitely going to help. I mean, because they were the Big 12 champions last year, and we're just going to have to find out how Oklahoma can replace those running backs and all those weapons. So that's really all there is to say on that. But nonetheless, it should be Oklahoma. No trouble here. I mean, 43-point favorites. Come on. Boomer Sooner, baby, in the immortal words of Jim Ross. So, MF, quick thought here before we move on to our first huge game this week.
Yeah, no, definitely Oklahoma is going to win the game. I don't see anything bad to say, the very least. They were very good about a year or so ago, very strong, very powerful. And, the expectations are really high. I think a lot of people will agree with that. Like for them, we're going to have to wait and see. But one thing is for sure, I believe they're going to be really out there. They're going to really want to push the envelope here. And at the end of the day, it's all about one thing and one thing only: trying to keep the momentum going, keep the passion, keep the fire, everything that they did from a year or so ago that made them a contender, and year in and year out a major threat for the national championship. This is the time where you want to rise up and deliver the goods. So you do that, you're going to be in a great position. So give me Oklahoma to win. And for one of the big games of the week, let's do it, Florio.
I'm ready for this one. MF, this is all you here, man. I mean, get ready. There's no question about this. This is the number 2 game of the week right here. There's actually one game bigger than this one, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But this is the first huge game of week 1 right here. Are you ready for this? 2 of the greatest college football programs in history are going to square off in Jerry World, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. We'll get ready. The number 11 Michigan Wolverines, the number 17 Florida Gators, 3:30 ABC. Joe Tessitore, Todd Blackledge, Holly Rowe on the call, and Michigan, a 4 to 4.5 point favorite. MF, it's only fitting you start this one off. Michigan coming off the best year they've had in a long, long time. The expectations are sky high, no doubt about it. One of the favorites in the Big Ten. Florida, renewed life under Jimmy McElwain, who's done a tremendous job. The best coach they've had since Spurrier, or maybe even Urban Meyer. Two of the greatest programs of all time, MF. Your team, Michigan, against Florida. Jerry World. Who you got, man?
I got to go with Michigan. And not because I'm a Michigan guy and I love the Wolverines, but no, 10 players from Florida suspended for this game, violation of team rules. That's one factor. Number two, I think Michigan has a more deeper, more stronger team. Offensively, defensively, I got Michigan winning the battles. And this is going to be a test. It's going to be a rough and rugged test. Do they have what it takes to do it? Absolutely. I think the expectations for Michigan are a lot higher than ever before, especially after they were one down away from knocking off Ohio State in the game. Only to lose that in heartbreaking fashion, then to lose the Orange Bowl in heartbreaking fashion to Florida State in one of the greatest Orange Bowls we've ever seen. Definitely the expectations are so high this upcoming year, and to start it out in Jerry World, in AT&T Stadium, in Arlington, against a team like Florida, yeah, it doesn't get any bigger than this. The pressure is really on, but I think Jim Harbaugh and his kids are going to answer the bell for this battle. This is going to be a great game. 35-31, Michigan wins. Anthony, it's yours.
Oh, boy. Let me see. Okay. Well, before we get into that, Ohio State has just added to their lead. Ohio State has scored, and I believe they added a 2-point conversion on top of that. Yes, they have. It's 35-21. Ohio State, 147 to go in the third. JT Barrett, 59-yard touchdown pass to Johnny Dixon. And then Barrett rushed in for the 2-point conversion. 35-21 Buckeyes, 147 to go in the third. So looks like Ohio State's starting to pull away a little bit. But this game is far from over, friends. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on that. So, okay. Now on to this first huge game of week one, the first half of our double main event. Jim Harbaugh doesn't get to play in this game, but the Michigan coach certainly has gotten in a lot of game playing leading up to the Wolverines season opener against number 17 Florida and Jerry World. He refused to release his team's playing roster until Wednesday, declined to formally announce his quarterback, and then went overboard by insinuating Jim McElwain was the one playing games by initially not revealing his team's signal caller. Michigan senior center Mason Cole hears all the chatter and just shrugs. And Michigan had a school record 11 players selected in last year's NFL draft, meaning there are new faces and new roles all over the field. Wolverines lost a lot of stars off last season's 10-3 squad. Well, 10 Florida players, like MF said, will be serving a suspension. Gators 9-4 last year. They've won 27 consecutive season openers. Ooh, you got to watch out for that, MF. 27 consecutive season openers by Florida. The best streak in the nation. And McElwain initially didn't divulge his starting quarterback before naming redshirt freshman Felipe Franks on Wednesday. Franks beat out incumbent starter Luke Del Rio and Notre Dame transfer Malik Zaire. Franks threw for 2,766 yards and 35 touchdowns in his senior year at Wakulla High School in Crawfordville, Florida. Junior Wilton Speed appears to once again be Michigan's quarterback after waging a tight battle with senior John O'Corn in fall camp. But Harbaugh isn't interested in revealing anything related to personnel. The one undisputed fact about the matchup is that standout junior receiver Antonio Callaway and junior running back Jordan Scarlett are among the Gators who will be serving suspensions on Saturday. The suspensions for Scarlet and redshirt freshman receiver Rick Wells were announced Wednesday. Sophomore Lamical Pirine, who rushed for 421 yards last year, will move into the featured running back role. Florida figures to once again be stingy on defense. Gators allowed an average of 16.8 points last year, and junior Jared Zuniga, team best 5 sacks, is back to deliver more damage. Michigan's defense was ravaged by departures, creating more opportunity for ballyhoo defensive end Rashawn Gary to live up to the hype. Sophomore is a second-team preseason All-American despite being a reserve last year when he had 27 tackles, including 5 for a loss. Senior defensive tackle Maurice Hurst, 4.5 sacks, goes from stellar backup to the leader of the line, while senior weak side linebacker Mike McRae looks to follow up a campaign in which he registered 12.5 tackles for losses. Lots of new starters on the offensive side as well. Sophomore Chris Evans figures to be the starting running back, but Harbaugh maintains he isn't concerned. The coach beginning his third season with the Wolverines feels the transition has been smooth and he sees the chemistry developing. He says he likes the way our team has worked. He's liked the way they've competed without complaint. That's been especially good. Florida dealt with some offensive struggles last season after Del Rio suffered a season-ending shoulder injury. He underwent surgeries on both shoulders in the offseason and missed spring drills. Though the Gators kept the identity of their starter quiet until midweek, there has been a level of optimism due to how well the 3 candidates have practiced in August. Callaway, Scarlett, and Wells are among 9 Florida players who are serving indefinite suspensions for misusing university funds. The others are defensive lineman Kevonis Davis, a junior, sophomore Richard Desir-Jones, redshirt freshman Jordan Smith, freshman linebackers James Houston and Ventrell Miller, and freshman offensive lineman Kadeem Telford. In addition, freshman receiver James Robinson was suspended after being cited with misdemeanor marijuana possession. How that team is a 4 to 4.5 point favorite, despite all those suspensions, is beyond me. I thought it would have been a lot more, considering the talent that's been suspended. But nonetheless, this is going to be the second best game of the week as far as I'm concerned. I got Michigan winning this one as well. I'm going to go 31-24. I'll go 31-24 Michigan over Florida in what should be a very exciting game, to say the very least, and definitely looking forward to seeing how that one goes down. So that's all I can say. So okay, let's move on to our next matchup. Back to the Dun Enhancement games now. 4:00 kickoff on ESPN3. The number 19 South Florida Bulls at home at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, hosting the Seawolves of Stony Brook. And I gotta see who's working this game. Well, I don't have the crew who's going to be working this game, but nonetheless, Stony Brook will be squaring off against South Florida, and let me see. South Florida is the favorite. Well, I don't have a spread here, but I would imagine they've got to be a substantial favorite here. They already won their first game, as I mentioned earlier, against San Jose State, 42-22, and it took them a full quarter to wake up and take control in that season opener. They should be in a better position to avoid the same fate in their home opener against FCS foe Stony Brook. They trailed San Jose State 16-0 before scoring 28 in the second quarter en route to a 42-22 win. First-year coach Charlie Strong was pleased to see his team handle the early adversity without any panic, learning a lesson in a win. They were led by Quentin Flowers, their quarterback, who led the Bulls to an 11-2 record last year before Willie Taggart left to coach at Oregon. Flowers had 212 yards and 2 scores. Dearness Johnson, 99 yards and 2 scores. Darius Tice had 94 and a touchdown. USF posted 548 total yards despite going 3 out of 19 on third down and having only 22 yards at the end of the first quarter. Stony Brook had its first ever game against an FBS opponent when the Seawolves played at USF in 2010, losing 59-14 after briefly leading early. They've given several FBS schools a scare in recent years, lost 26-23 in 5 overtimes to Buffalo in 2013, lost 19-16 to UConn in 2014. Weren't as fortunate last year, losing 38-0 to Temple as part of a 5-6 season. And their head coach Chuck Pryor, when you end with a loss, you can't wait to get back on the field, and that's what he said after their loss to Albany. So, but nonetheless, I think Quentin Flowers, Dearness Johnson, Darius Tice, they'll all have huge games here. So I got South Florida winning this one going away. So MF, South Florida plays at Raymond James Stadium, so I wonder if Bucky's going to be firing off some cannons again.
Unfortunately, I don't ever believe they do that in college football. I don't know for sure. If they do or not, I don't know. But I will say this, that I do have South Florida is winning that game as well. I just feel like they're comfortable, you know. They already got the one win under their belts because they did play last week. I just don't think anything else would really matter in this situation. So yeah, I'm gonna go with them. No problem. Let's go to the next game.
And you're gonna start it off, MF, and man, it seems like you're getting these teams that either they're in the Big Ten or they're teams you're very high on. And you said earlier that this was a team that you were very high on this year. The number 4 USC Trojans.
Yes.
They're going to be at home against the Broncos of Western Michigan at of course, one of my personal favorite venues, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. 5:15 kickoff. Interesting. Kickoff at 5:15 kickoff. That's interesting timing. It'll be on the Pac-12 network. Roxy Bernstein, Anthony Haran, and Lewis Johnson, they'll be on the call. And USC, 26.5 to 27.5 point favorites in this one. All right, MF, you've been going on and on about how you're so high on USC. Why are you so high on USC? And as a Notre Dame guy, I really want
to know. All right. Well, I like their team. I like the makeup. I love the setup that they got and with everything that they had from a year ago. And you even said it after that big win in last year's Rose Bowl. They definitely have something that could bring something to the table. And on top of that, they're going to get tested real early in the season. So we're going to get to see what USC is all about, because that next game after they played this week, they got Stanford at the Coliseum, 9-9, 8:30 kickoff on Fox. So they're going to get tested right at the gun. And Sam Darnold, I'm telling you right now, this kid, if he continues the way that they did from a year ago, he could be a Heisman Trophy candidate. Sam Darnold is the real deal, guys. He is unbelievable. He was amazing. I think he's going to take a major step up. I'm so high on USC this season. I think they're going to be one of the 4 to be in the college football playoff. I got them winning the Pac-12. I got them going to the college football playoff. When it's all said and done, they're going to be there in January or on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. I don't know when it is this time around, but they're playing for that. They're going to be one of the 4 that's going to be playing for that national championship. That's how high I am of USC this year. They're going to win it. They're going to win it going away in an absolute laugher. Anthony Floyo, it's all yours.
Oh, as a Notre Dame guy, I don't like what I just heard. Oh boy.
And you know, the last time I went and something this bold, I was correct.
Clemson last
Remember
year.
that.
Clemson
exactly.
Yep. And what did Clemson do? Clemson went all the way. They won it all in the greatest championship game we ever saw, hands down. But nonetheless, yeah, I agree, MF. I got USC winning as well. This is a laugher game anyway, and as much as it pains me to say it as a Notre Dame guy, I agree. And participants, from two of last season's New Year's Six bowl games face off for the first time ever on Saturday when USC hosts Western Michigan. And closing the 2016 season on a 9-game winning streak, capped with a thrilling comeback victory over Penn State in the Rose Bowl, USC went into the offseason on a greater high than most of its college football counterparts. That momentum has turned into major hype. Their number 4 preseason ranking is their highest such designation since they opened 2012 at number 1. And they are the league media's preseason pick to win the Pac-12 championship, in addition to UMF. Led by their head coach, Clay Helton. He says it feels good to be back in that position where so many people are expecting great things of you. Sam Darnold, who directed that 9-game winning streak, starts this season as the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Capped last season with a record-setting 5-touchdown performance in the Rose Bowl. USC can turn its full attention to competition this week against 2017 Cotton Bowl participant Western Michigan. First pairing of USC against a current member of the MAC conference. Broncos won the MAC last year en route to earning the Group of 5 conference's automatic bid into a New Year's Six bowl. Their league title marked the culmination of a perfect regular season when they reached as high as number 12 in the AP poll en route to a 13-1 finish. Western Michigan's success a season ago earned former head coach P.J. Fleck the same position at Minnesota. Replacing him is Western Michigan alum Tim Lester, the quarterbacks coach at Purdue last season. Broncos also lose standout quarterback Zach Terrell and wide receiver Corey Davis, the 5th overall pick in the NFL draft. Western Michigan's ground attack should shoulder much of the offensive duty in the opener. Broncos return 3 running backs, Jarvion Franklin, Jamari Bogan, and Davon Tucker, who combined to rush for 2,486 yards and 24 touchdowns last year. Helton also mentioned the return of Western Michigan running back Levante Bellamy, limited to 3 games last year due to injury, but responsible for almost 500 yards 2 years ago. But nonetheless, it's got to be USC. I mean, don't forget Ronald Jones II, breakthrough performer, over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. Their receiving core, you got Deontay Burnett. He returns, but gone are Juju Smith-Schuster, Darius Rogers, and DeQuan Hampton. Newcomers and former reserves will jockey for opportunities. Ohio State has just scored again. Needless to say, they just flexed their muscle. I believe Barrett has just thrown another touchdown pass. Let me get into this. Is it Barrett again? Yep, it's Barrett again. Benjamin Victor, the latest recipient, 11-yard touchdown. Extra point by Nürnberger is good. 42-21 Ohio State. 12:08 to go in the fourth quarter. Needless to say, there ain't going to be no week 1 upset here. And there won't be a week 1 upset in the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum either, because I got USC winning that game as well. So I got them winning it going away. No question about it. Darnold's going to go off. Jones is going to go off. And that's basically it. All right, let's move on. Let me see. All right, Bullock's not here yet, so we'll just keep going. Number 15, Maine and Georgia Bulldogs. They're going to be hosting the Mountaineers of Appalachian State. 6:15 kickoff on ESPN. Sanford Stadium in the Old Hedges in Athens, Georgia. Games on ESPN. And on that call, it will be one of our old favorites. One of our personal favorites, Mr. Holy Cow himself, Mike Patrick, along with his new partner, Tommy Tuberville, replacing Ed Cunningham. Ed Cunningham left. Tommy Tuberville is going to be working that game with Mike Patrick, and the sideline reporter, of course, Paul Carcaterra, replacing Dr. Jerry Punch, who worked with the Mike Patrick crew last year. And Georgia, a 14.5-point favorite. So, I start this one out because MF led off on USC. Okay. I know MF's going to be very upset with me when I mention this. Remember, Appalachian State this year marks the 10-year anniversary of the biggest win in Appalachian State football history when they did the unthinkable, went into the Big House and beat MF's Michigan Wolverines in one of the most underrated and one of the greatest, maybe the greatest sleeper game of all time. And 10 years, 10-year anniversary of that. And now they go into Georgia. Can they do the same thing? When Appalachian State shocked the college football world by knocking off Michigan 10 years ago in Ann Arbor, it forever changed the way opponents thought about the Mountaineers. Georgia head coach Kirby Smart remembers it very well. He says, I remember the game. I remember the block kick, number one. It helped them recruit probably a little bit more. I would not say nationally, but even more than just regionally. They were able to go out and get players from Florida because of that game. It gave them great exposure. There were a lot of great players in that game for App State, just like this team here has. Smart says his 15th ranked Bulldogs, 8-5 last year, could suffer the same fate as the Wolverines if they're not prepared for their opener against Appalachian State. Bulldogs and Mountaineers each ended the season with high hopes. Georgia was picked by the media, attending SEC Media Days to win the Eastern Division, while Appalachian State was the choice of the league coaches and select media to win the Sun Belt. Mountaineers went 10-3 last season, capped by a 31-28 victory over Toledo in the Camilla Bowl. Running the table this season is not an unreasonable expectation, except for this opener against the Bulldogs. That's going to be a tremendous challenge, said Appalachian State coach Scott Satterfield. Not only are running backs Nick Chubb and Sony Mitchell back for their senior years for Georgia, with 5,835 career rushing yards between them, but former five-star quarterback Jacob Eason figures to be much improved in his sophomore year after starting 12 games last year as a true freshman, when he completed just 55% of his passes. Mountaineers have weapons of their own. Fourth-year starting quarterback Taylor Lamb, Georgia native whose father Bobby Lamb coaches FCS Mercer, and grandfather Ray Lamb was an ultra-successful high school coach who later served on the staff at Georgia as a high school liaison. But it's what Taylor Lamb has done on the field for the Mountaineers that commands the most attention. 2,281 yards, 15 TDs, also 505 yards and 9 scores. Bulldogs will have to deal with junior running back Jalen Moore, who is back after rushing for 1,400 yards as a sophomore when he was named the Sun Belt Conference's Offensive Player of the Year, despite sharing the workload with then-senior Marcus Cox, the school's career rushing leader. Things might not come easy against Appalachian State, which took Tennessee into overtime last season before losing 20-13. So, a lot to think about here, but ultimately, I got to go with Georgia in this one. 14.5-point favorites. I'm not sleeping on Appalachian State. When they pulled that massive upset 10 years ago, they made us aware. They're like, hello, world, we're here. That's all they can say on that. So if anybody can give Georgia a run for their money, Appalachian State can certainly do that. But ultimately, I just think Georgia, with all those weapons, will find a way to win. I'm gonna say maybe 38-24. Georgia defeats Appalachian State. I don't think we're gonna get a rehash of 10 years ago. All right, MF. I know deep down there's a little when you think about Appalachian State, but 10 years after they pulled when they pulled off their biggest win against your Michigan boys, can they do it again 10 years later against the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs between the hedges?
I mean, if they do what I'm going to say this. If the Maine and Georgia Bulldogs sleeps on Appalachian State, then they're going to get punched in the mouth and they're going to get upset. And that dog is going to be, well, no, I don't want to say that because I could get myself in big time trouble for that. I'll just say that the dogs will lose. I'm going to be nice and say the dogs will lose. I had something else in mind, but I don't want to go there because if I do, every animal rights group, every dog lover is probably going to come after me for that comment. So, no. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go with Georgia to win, but if you're Appalachian State, you got the upset in mind, you better be ready for a good battle, all right? So, nothing more to say. That's it. Georgia wins, but if they take Appalachian State lightly, they will get punched in the mouth. Floyo, it's yours.
Fair enough. And let's move on to our next matchup. I believe, MF, you started off.
Yep.
The number 20, Kansas State Wildcats at home at Bill Snyder Family Memorial Stadium in Manhattan, Kansas. They're going to be squaring off against the Bears of Central Arkansas. 7:10 kickoff, ESPN 3. I don't believe I'm going to find an announcer crew for this one unless I look really hard enough. No, I don't think I see one. No, I don't have. I don't have the announce crew for that one, unfortunately. I'm almost certain there's probably not going to be a spread either, unless I find one. No, I don't have a spread either. But you have to imagine Kansas State's got to be a sizable favorite. So Kansas State's got to be a sizable favorite against Central Arkansas here.
I gotta think so too. I think Kansas State will get the job done. They should win this game with no problems whatsoever. I just don't see any issue here that would make them scared. I mean, unless you get something bigger down the line, something like that, then no. But no, Kansas State should win, no problem. Floria, what's yours?
Yeah, I got K-State winning as well. Yeah. They opened the season with questions surrounding their program. I mean, the legendary Bill Snyder will be entering his 26th season at the helm. 78 years old, coming off treatment for throat cancer this offseason, and speculation that he might retire. But he's coming back. And Central Arkansas coach Steve Campbell knows facing a team like Kansas State will be tough, but he's looking forward to the opportunity. Snyder's squad is loaded with 18 returning starters, including quarterback Jesse Ertz. Ertz started all 13 games as he was just one of 4 players in FBS to throw for 1,500 yards and rush for 1,000. And they also returned 44 letter winners from last year's squad that went 9-4. 8 of the returning starters picked up all Big 12 accolades in 2016, including Big 12 Defensive Newcomer of the Year, defensive back DJ Reed, and Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year, defensive end Reggie Walker. 6 returning starters on defense, which includes 3 on the line and 3 in the secondary. Must break in a new set of starting linebackers, but players with experience are back and vying for the top spots. 5 players who made at least 5 starts along the offensive line are back, including a pair of 13-game starters and tackles Dalton Risner and Scott Franz. Central Arkansas returns 18 starters from a squad that went 10-3, including 8-1 in Southland. They bring back their entire offensive line, a senior starting quarterback in Hayden Hildebrand, and their top running back in Carlos Blackman. But K-State has a get this, an 82, 34, and 5 record all-time in season openers, including a 22-3 mark under Snyder. Since 1990, K-State holds a 144, 35-1 record at Bill Snyder Family Stadium, including a 70-5 mark in non-conference games. So, needless to say, it's K-State. No doubt about it. Now we move on to the number 12 Auburn Tigers, alma mater of one of our many good friends of the show, the beautiful Lindsay McCormick. Her alma mater starts off against the Eagles of Georgia Southern on the SEC Network at 7:30, Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, and on the call for that one will be Tom Hart, Jordan Rogers, and Cole Kubelik. They'll be on the call for that. And Auburn, a 34-point favorite. No doubt about this one. It's Auburn. I mean, Jarrett Stidham, their new quarterback, the transfer out of Baylor. Tigers coming off an 8-5 year last year. They're expected to contend with Alabama and LSU in the West, viewed by many as a second-tier playoff contender. And a lot of that will depend on the development of Jarrett Stidham, a heralded sophomore transfer from Baylor, coming back from an ankle injury suffered in November that cut his freshman year short. Gus Malzahn says he's still inexperienced. We got to keep that in mind, but we're very excited about it and very excited for him. And they return 8 starters on offense, Auburn does, including star junior running back Cameron Petway, backed by dangerous Kerryon Johnson. The O-line is bolstered by senior right guard Braden Smith, preseason All-SEC first-team selection. They are picked, Georgia Southern picked to finish 7th in the 12-team Sun Belt in a poll of league coaches and media. And redshirt freshman Shea Wertz has earned the nod to start at quarterback for G Southern, gets to make his debut against an Auburn defense that surrendered only 17 points a game last year. They also have their junior running back, Wesley Fields, 512 yards. And Auburn heavily favored, but they need to avoid looking ahead to a Week 2 showdown at defending national champion Clemson. Auburn opened last season with a 19-13 loss to Clemson. Auburn also stumbled against Texas A&M early last year before running off 7 straight wins to earn a trip to the Sugar Bowl, where the Tigers dropped a 35-19 decision to the Oklahoma Sooners. Petway, 1,240 yards last year, despite not seeing the field for 4 games, and the Tigers lost 3 of those games that he was out. Stidham in his freshman year at Baylor, he completed about 69% of his passes, 1,265 yards, 12 TDs, 2 picks, working with a young receiving core in his first year at Auburn, led by sophomore wide receiver Darius Slayton, returning with just 15 catches. So I got to go with Auburn here, no doubt about it. Lindsey McCormick, don't take these guys too lightly. I know you've got Clemson on the mind, but take care of business against these guys and then focus on one of our huge games as part of next week's show. We talk about that Clemson game, and I can't wait to talk about that one. So Auburn rolls. MF, what about it?
No, I agree. I absolutely agree with everything you say. Normally, whenever this early in the season you have another team and you're going up against a very, you think you have an easy game and you overlook and think about that next battle, that's when we start yelling trap, trap, trap. I don't think it's going to be a trap game. I do believe that Auburn is good enough and aware enough to not fall in the trap. I hope they don't fall in it, but no, they should easily get this one. This should be an easy win. Auburn should have no problems. Like I said, as long as they don't start thinking about Clemson and that game next week, they should be fine. They should get the job done. Florio, it's yours.
All right, MF. Another Big Ten game here. Seems like the schedule makers wanted to line it up, so you would lead off on Big Ten games, and this is another one of those sleeper matchups here. The number 16 Louisville Cardinals will be squaring off against the Purdue Boilermakers, and this game is actually going to be held at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. 7:30 on Fox. This is a Fox game. Tim Brando, Spencer Tillman, Holly Saunders, the beautiful Holly Saunders, formerly of the Golf Channel. She'll be on the sidelines with Brando and Tillman. Loved them when they were on CBS as part of their college football crew. But nonetheless, Louisville against Purdue in what I consider I consider that the sleeper game of the week. But Louisville is a 24.5-point favorite. All right, MF. Louisville, another team that we're high on, mainly because of Lamar Jackson in the home.
The Heisman Trophy winner. Yep. And
yes,
that's why.
Winner. Yes.
The Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson. And that's the reason why I think Louisville will win this game, because of the fact that he will have a monster game under the light at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. He should not be phased by the moment. I think he will definitely step up, rise up, and have a great performance. I definitely believe that they'll win this game going away. I got nothing more to say about that. Give me the Cardinals of Louisville to win it. Or, like Anthony likes to say, Louisville!
Deion Branch from?
So, yeah. I got them winning this game. So, Florio, what's yours?
And, of course, our inside joke, like Chris Berman always used to do, Deion Branch from?
Louisville!
Yes. I know how much that just brought back some memories.
Yes, it did.
Yes. This is the sleeper game for me. I mean, an interesting matchup, Louisville and Purdue at Lucas Oil Stadium. I mean, gorgeous venue. I mean, it's hosted the Super Bowl and a national championship, Final Four and whatnot. But Louisville quarterback Lamar Jackson set to begin to answer the question of what he can do for an encore. 3,543 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, while also running wild in a 9-4 season in which he won the Heisman Trophy as a sophomore. And Bobby Petrino, he says, hey, he's better than ever. heading into their opener against Purdue. He trusts what he sees. He really understands what he wants to do. He has done a good job with his sets, his transfer, and his footwork. His feel for the game is better. He trusts his knowledge. He has good scrimmages, and his decisions are quicker and better. 26-point underdog. Jeff Brom, the Purdue coach. Of course, Lamar Jackson, running-wise, 1,571 yards rushing and 21 touchdowns. Unbelievable talent, a guy that can change the outcome of a game in one play. He's gotten better as a quarterback, but where he really is a danger is with his feet. And we're going to find that out firsthand on Saturday night when they square off against Purdue. But Purdue's got some QB issues. They may have to wait until kickoff to determine if Purdue's quarterback David Blah can lead the Boilermaker offense. Reigning Big Ten passing leader suffered a strained right shoulder during a scrimmage on August 12th. Returned to practice on Sunday. Brom and his coaching staff will evaluate Blah's ability to pass without pain before making a decision. If he can't go, sophomore Elijah Sindelar, who completed 14 of 32 for 165 and 3 picks in limited action last year, he'll be the starter. Blah had 3,352 yards with 25 TDs, but 21 interceptions. And Petrino, thrilled that Brom landed a Power 5 conference coaching position and is confident his former assistant will turn around a Purdue program that went 9-39 the past 4 years with only 3 wins in Big Ten play. Only the second meeting between Louisville and Purdue. Believe it or not, their only other meeting, September 19th of 1987, it ended in a tie. Yeah, 22-22 tie at Purdue at Ross-Ade Stadium. So we'll keep that in mind, but there ain't going to be no tie this time. Louisville's going to win this one. And I do think Purdue, but it just depends on who the starting QB is for Purdue. If it's Blah, I think they could give Louisville some fits, but if it's Sindelar, forget about it. So, but it doesn't matter. Louisville's going to win anyway. All right, MF, are you ready for the main event? Oh, my. Are you folks ready for what will undoubtedly be the game, the main event of week 1? 8 o'clock, ABC, the brand new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. The number 3 Florida State Seminoles squaring off against the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Tom Rinaldi, Maria Taylor. Games on ABC. And believe it, and Alabama, a 7 to 7.5 point favorite in this one. Oh boy. The college football playoff will be decided this season at Atlanta's new Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and the first college game at the $1.5 billion replacement for the Georgia Dome will likely help determine who is playing on January 8th. Alabama and Florida, Chick-fil-A Classic, Saturday night in what has been called the biggest opening game ever in college football. According to the AP preseason poll, that's not an ideal boast, and that's not an idle boast. Never before has a team ranked number 1 played against a team ranked as high as number 3 in the first weekend of the season. The biggest previous matchups, according to the AP poll, were number 1 Nebraska versus number 4 Penn State in 1983, and number 1 Oklahoma versus number 4 UCLA in 1986. Alabama, bidding for a perfect season, lost 35-31 to Clemson on a last-second touchdown in the college football playoff title game last January after a 24-7 victory over Washington in a semifinal pairing at the Georgia Dome. While Alabama head coach Nick Saban prodded Alabama not to waste a failure by forgetting about the January loss, he wants the Crimson Tide to focus on creating the identity of this group. Alabama is sure to be properly motivated against FSU, which is picked to unseat Clemson as the ACC champion this year. 7 players selected in the NFL draft off the Alabama defense. FSU also has the pedigree of success, producing pros and a wealth of talent returning to make a run at a national title. They are the 2 winningest college programs since 2010 and have combined for 5 of the last 8 national championships, 4 by Alabama. In the 3 seasons of the college football playoff, Alabama made the field every year and FSU the first. The Georgia Dome had been a home away from home for the Crimson Tide, so FSU is probably glad that Mercedes-Benz Stadium built next door will be the site of this showdown. Alabama was 11-3 at the Georgia Dome, the former home of the SEC championship game, as well as the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic and the Peach Bowl. The Crimson Tide has a returning starter at quarterback for the first time since 2013 in Jalen Hurts, the SEC Offensive Player of the Year as a freshman. Florida State, though, can match Hurts with DeAndre Francois, also a freshman standout a season ago. Francois isn't Jameis Winston, who led Florida State to the national title in 2013. He's the Seminoles' best QB since, though, and should keep getting better. Alabama, 7 defensive players taken in the draft, including 3 in the first round, but should still be stout on that side of the ball. Florida State, which won 7 of its final 8 games a year ago to finish 10-3, returns 9 regulars on defense and will have star safety Derwin James back at full strength after he played just 2 games last year because of a knee injury. Hurts will present a challenge and won't be intimidated by the primetime matchup. Alabama has won its past 15 opening games, including 4 in Atlanta, while FSU has won 7 straight openers. 2 of the Crimson Tide's wins in Atlanta were against ACC teams ranked in the top 10. Number 9, Clemson in 2008, and number 7, Virginia Tech in 2009. Tough one to call, honestly, but I have to go with Alabama because of their history in Atlanta. This is the game of the week. This is going to be a 5-star classic. This is going to be Shakespearean drama at its absolute finest. 34-31, Alabama wins. Nothing more to say. MF, the game of the week, the main event, national championship caliber right here. Florida State, Alabama. It don't get no bigger than this in opening week.
And I'm even going to go one further. These are 2 teams I actually think are going to be in the college football playoff when it's all said and done. I think whoever loses this game is not the end of the world. Yes, I know it's going to be 1 loss, but with the way that the league is and the way the parity goes year in and year out, I actually think these 2 teams will meet each other again in a college football playoff when it's all said and done. So that's 3 teams that I've already called out that I think are going to be in there. Florida State, Alabama, and USC. I think those are going to be 3. The 4th team, I'm on the fence right now. I think it's a Big Ten team. I'm calling it right now. I think it's either going to be Michigan or Ohio State. One of those 2 is coming out of there, and they're going to be that 4th and final team. So my final 4 is USC, Alabama, Florida State, and either Michigan or Ohio State. It's going to be one of them 2. Now, as far as this game goes, this is going to be unbelievable. This is the game of the week, no doubt about it. I know a lot of people are saying Bama, Bama, Bama. I think, just me personally, I'm going to go for the upset. I'm going to go for Florida State to win this. And the reason why, I think they got the necessary pieces that they're going to do. And I think this is the year Florida State is going to become a major threat, a major problem in not only the ACC, but in college football. I think for a number of years, they've been kind of right there, almost near the style of it. And the one thing is, I think they know, especially the ACC, they finally think that they finally got the blueprint. They finally know how to figure out how to beat Alabama because of what Clemson did in January in Tampa in the national championship game. I think they realize how to beat Alabama, and I think they're going to try to utilize that same game plan that they did that won the ACC, the national championship. I think they're going to try to go with that same game plan, that same strategy, and they got the pieces. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going to pull it off. 28-24, the Seminoles of Florida State does it. They knock off Alabama at the new Mercedes-Benz Dome in the ATL. It is going to be a hot night in hot Atlanta, and there's going to be a majority of fans, not a full, because I think it's going to be a 50-50 split. But I think 50% of that stadium is going to be doing the tomahawk chop, a la the Atlanta Braves when Florida State beats Alabama in the ATL on Saturday night. Anthony, it's yours.
And in the immortal words of Gorilla Monsoon, it's going to be something else. That's all I can say on that. So, wow, how do you follow that? Well, how about another sleeper matchup? And MF, you're going to be starting this one off. But before we get into that, Ohio State scored again. Um, I missed the update. 49-21, and it looks like it's just about to go final. Yeah, wow, unbelievable. It was Antonio Williams with a 5-yard rushing touchdown. They added the PAT. 49-21. Looks like it's about to go final. And Ohio State, what a night. And no need to panic over them. And I think we got another team that we're going to see in our power poll next week. So that's a big win for Ohio State. I mean, Indiana gave them some fits, but Ohio State pulls it out ultimately. All right. Another interesting sleeper matchup. 9:30 kickoff on ESPN from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Of course, the home of the Miracle on Bourbon Street at WrestleMania 30. We all know that story. Best ending to a WrestleMania ever. Just saying. BYU Cougars are going to be squaring off against the number 13 LSU Tigers in the Dome in New Orleans. This is on ESPN at 9:30. Bob Wischusen, Brock Huard, Allison Williams, they'll be on the call for that. And I believe LSU is the favorite. Yes, they are. 14.5-point favorites for LSU against BYU. MF, LSU opening their season against BYU in the Dome in New Orleans. Should be an interesting one.
Yeah, most definitely. It's gonna be an interesting game, no doubt about that. I'm gonna go. I gotta go with LSU. I think this is just the home cooking more than anything else. Being at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, that's definitely a major advantage for yourself. I'm gonna go with LSU. Short and sweet, nothing straight to the point. Floyo, it's yours.
Yeah, it's LSU. No question. BYU, they won their last game though. They already have a win, but both teams had to adjust 5 days before the game. We actually missed the backstory here, MF. This game was originally supposed to be in Houston, but it got moved because of Hurricane Harvey, and this game was originally scheduled to be in Houston. They had to adjust 5 days before the game when the location was moved from Houston to the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans because of the devastating effects of Hurricane Harvey in Houston, and of course, continued thoughts and prayers to everyone who's been affected by that terrible tragedy down there. And we're going to definitely have a show of praise tomorrow night for a certain NFL superstar who has done what he has done has been absolutely extraordinary for the relief efforts, and we're definitely going to sing his praises tomorrow. You better believe that. A major blessing coming his way, no doubt about it. Anywho, LSU, BYU actually does have a win. They beat Portland State last week, 20-6, and LSU. BYU was 9-4 last year, but LSU was 8-4. They went 6-2 after Ed Orgeron was promoted from D-line coach to interim head coach when Les Miles was fired after that 2-2 start. LSU has a lot of tradition, and they're a good program. And of course, Darius Geis, the running back, 1,387 yards. Of course, he took over for Leonard Fournette. Of course, Fournette was unbelievable down there. But yeah, it's got to be LSU. I mean, they're big favorites. I mean, BYU could make a game a bit early, but I just think LSU, especially in the Dome, you got to go with the Tigers. So LSU wins that. So one more Saturday game left, and that is it'll be a 10:30 kickoff on FS1. The number 24 Washington State Cougars at home against the Bobcats of Montana State at Clarence D. Martin Stadium. Brian Custer and Ben Lieber will be on the call, and I don't have a spread for that one, but you got to imagine Washington State's got to be a heavy favorite in that one. So let me get a quick liner note here. Montana State coming off a 4-7 year. Of course, Washington State, Luke Falk, their senior quarterback. He's another potential Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, he had a tremendous year last year under head coach Mike Leach. Falk last year, 4,468 yards, 38 touchdown passes. And this team last year, Washington State, they were one of the surprises in the Pac-12 last year. But ultimately, Montana State's got no chance. Washington State's going to win this thing. Luke Falk's going to go off. I'm not going to waste any more time on this. I don't really have much schematics here, so just give me Washington State. MF, I'm sure you agree with that one, I'm sure.
Yes, total agreement. Nothing more to say. Let's just move on.
2 games left, and for the second year in a row, we have a rare Sunday night game in college football. Yeah, a Sunday night college football game, but this is a good one, though. I got to consider this the number 3 game of the week, if I'm being honest. And MF's going to start it off. Sunday night, 7:30, ABC, the number 22 West Virginia Mountaineers against the number 21 Virginia Tech Hokies from FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, the home of the Washington Redskins. That's where this game's going to be on Sunday night. On ABC, Steve Levy, Brian Griese, Todd McShay, they'll be on the call for that one. And just give me a moment, MF, before I give it to you. I want to make sure we get the spread out of the way. And it's Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a 4 to 4.5 point favorites. So, MF, we'll start it with you here. West Virginia against Virginia Tech at FedEx Field on Sunday night on ABC. To me, this is the number 3 game of the week.
Oh, without a doubt. Number 3 game of the week, definitely. This is going to be a very good matchup, and both teams are really, really, really promising year for Virginia Tech playing out of, I believe they're in the SEC now, Big 12. Or I think they're in the Big 12. Of course, Virginia Tech, ACC. This is going to be a good matchup. 2 teams that really going to play hard for each other. And I really like. I think Vodtech is going to win this game. That's what I think. There's just something about this game that really feels good. Even though I think it's going to be a really good matchup. I'm going to go like a 31-27. Give me Virginia Tech to win. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Let me see. Virginia Tech redshirt freshman quarterback Josh Jackson will make his collegiate debut on the big stage in an NFL stadium against one of the Hokies' most hated rivals. And, of course, West Virginia quarterback Will Grier is ready to take the reins for the Mountaineers. His football past behind him and his new team excited about the possibilities. New quarterbacks add to the intrigue as Virginia Tech and West Virginia square off Sunday night at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. It is one of 3 games involving ranked teams in the first full weekend of college football. The others, of course, being Alabama, Florida State, and Michigan, Florida. Jackson earned the job outright early in camp and has spent the past few weeks getting comfortable playing exclusively with the first team. Grier is more than ready to make a name again following his transfer from Florida. 6-0 as a starter as a freshman before testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs, being suspended for a year, and then transferring. And West Virginia head coach Dana Holgorsen said Will's as good as advertised. I like the kid's demeanor. He's got complete control of the huddle, has a really good idea of what we want him to do offensively. West Virginia was 10-3 last year, and its offensive backfield might be the strongest unit on the team. Senior Justin Crawford, the starter at running back, with the sophomore tandem of Kennedy McCoy and Martell Pettaway. Crawford had 1,200 yards rushing last year. McCoy and Pettaway each posted a 100-yard game. Virginia Tech will cycle through a stable of backs that includes junior Trayvon McMillian, who leads returning ACC running backs in career yardage. Sophomore Deshaun McClesey, who was back after missing most of last season with a shoulder injury. Junior Stephen Peoples, and freshman Jalen Holston. Hokies coming off a 10-4 year, looking for young receivers to emerge around senior Cam Phillips. 165 career catches for 2,063 yards, on pace to become the school record holder in receptions and receiving yards. On defense, West Virginia has senior linebacker Al-Rashid Benton, but is otherwise in rebuilding mode, having to replace 4 of its top 5 tacklers. Safety Drayvon Askew Henry is back from a 2016 ACL injury and should have a big impact on the secondary. Safety Kaiser White is a hard hitter for defensive coordinator Tony Gibson. Virginia Tech has more identifiable stars on defensive coordinator Bud Foster's unit. Cornerback Brandon Fassison, who was expected to play despite being limited in the preseason as he recovers from wrist surgery, and linebacker Tremaine Edmonds are considered second-round prospects by NFLDraftScout.com. Hokies are expecting big things from Edmonds, who made 106 tackles last season, including 18.5 for loss. Linebacker Andrew Motuapuka had 114 tackles, 3 interceptions, another standout. Virginia Tech and West Virginia have not met since 2005 and now play in different conferences, but this will feel like an old Big East game and a rivalry renewed. Very tough to call, honestly. Virginia Tech, I believe, is the favorite. So, yeah, 4 to 4.5. This is a tough one to call. It really is. But I'm actually going to go with West Virginia in this one. I think West Virginia can pull this one out. I mean, especially Will Grier. I mean, I was high on that kid at Florida before he got in trouble with the PEDs and the whole 9 yards. So, no doubt about it here. I got to go with West Virginia to win behind Will Grier. So, I think it's going to be a very good game indeed. I'm going to go 27-24, West Virginia over Virginia Tech on Sunday night. And we got one game left. Our final game on the docket, Labor Day, Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. The number 25 Tennessee Volunteers against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, also from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. And it will be Reese Davis not Chris Fowler. Reese Davis will be working with Kirk Herbstreit and their new sideline reporter Maria Taylor. Tennessee, a 2.5 to 3 point favorite against Georgia Tech. I'm going with Tennessee to win this game. The stadium is brand new, but the rivalry between Georgia Tech and Tennessee is decades old. The 2 old SEC members will meet on Labor Day in the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, the second college football game to be played in the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Monday night. Tennessee leads the all-time series 24-17 with 2 ties. They have not played since 1987, when Tennessee won 29-15. The roots for the series go way back. Former Georgia Tech coach Bobby Dodd, after whom the Georgia Tech Stadium is named, played quarterback for the Vols before joining the Yellow Jacket staff. 2 main questions surrounding the Georgia Tech offense. Who will start at quarterback, and how will the loss of leading rusher Dedrick Mills affect the offense? Yellow Jackets 9-4 last year will have a new player under center. 3-year starter Justin Thomas graduated after leading the team to a pair of bowl victories. Thomas was the ideal man to run the team's option attack and was adept in making the right call from the line of scrimmage, an effective passer and durable player who missed only 1 game. Johnson hasn't named a successor to Thomas, and the mystery could last until kickoff Monday night. 4 players in the mix, led by Matthew Jordan, a run-first quarterback who started 1 game last year when Thomas was injured and led the team to a win at Virginia Tech. Others in the picture include Taquan Marshall, who took most of the snaps at number 1 in the spring when Jordan missed time with a foot injury that required surgery, as well as redshirt freshmen Lucas Johnson and Jay Jones. Johnson has also kept his cool in the wake of Mills, who led the team in rushing as a true freshman and was voted first-team preseason All-ACC. Mills was dismissed from the team for violation of athletic department regulations, missed 4 games last year, 3 of them for breaking team rules, since transferred to a junior college. Kervonte Benson won the B-back job in camp and will make the start. He's smaller than Mills, but has game-breaking speed. True freshman Jerry Howard, an early camp sensation, will be the number 2 player here, likely. Someone must step in and replace Joshua Dobbs, who was a 4th-round draft choice of Steelers. His predecessor will be either Quentin Dormady, a traditional pocket quarterback, or Jarrett Garantano, a redshirt freshman with great mobility and a strong arm. That means running back John Kelly and receiver Jawan Jennings are going to be the main building blocks for the offense. Kelly ran for 630 yards and 5 scores. Jennings caught 40 passes for 580 yards and 7 touchdowns. Defense will be led by safety Todd Kelly Jr., who led the team with 71 tackles and has 8 career picks. Special teams are in good hands with returner Evan Barry, who averaged 32.9 yards on kickoff returns, and punter Trevor Daniel, who averaged 44.6 yards and is on the watch list for the Ray Guy Award. Tennessee got out of the gate with a 5-0 start last year, but the Vols endured a 3-game losing streak and lost to Vanderbilt for the third time in 5 years. 9-4 season looked good on paper, but was not satisfying to fans or coach Butch Jones. This will be the second time Tennessee has appeared in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game, the first since beating NC State in 2012. Georgia Tech will make its first appearance in the contest. Needless to say, I got Tennessee winning this game. 24-17. That's going to be my final score. 24-17. MF, I'm going to let you get your 2 cents in before we get Bolakal caught up.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I got Tennessee as well. I really like Tennessee. I love what they did last season, even though it was a little bit of an underachievement. I really got very high hopes for Tennessee too, even though I don't think that they'll have an okay season this year, but I just don't think it's going to be much more than that. So for me, I'm going to go with Tennessee to win the game. 31-17 is what I say. So. Yep, that's it. So, floor is yours.
All right, Michael Bullock, you got a lot of catching up to do. You just barely made it, man. Just barely made it. We were almost ready to wrap it up, but we got you. So let's you know what to do. Rapid fire like you always do.
Oh yeah, it's definitely rapid fire.
Tomorrow night, number 8, Washington against Rutgers on FS1 at 8 o'clock. Who you got there?
Yeah, I got Washington winning this one.
Number 9, Wisconsin at home against Utah State, 9 o'clock on ESPN. Who do you like there?
Yeah, I got Wisconsin winning this one as well.
And then Saturday, Kent State will be going up against the national champion Clemson Tigers, high noon on ESPN. Who you got there?
Well, today is I got Clemson starting off their national championship run with a victory over Kent State.
Akron squaring off against number 6 Penn State, high noon on ABC.
Yeah, I got the Nittany Lions, and I'll tell you this. Right, the Nittany Lions. I mean, they're a team to definitely keep an eye on in the Big Ten race this year. And who knows? I mean, maybe they could challenge the Buckeyes. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to dethrone the Buckeyes, but maybe they could give them some fits and could challenge them for that Big Ten title. So we'll just have to wait and see. So, but either way, I got Penn State winning this.
Don't forget, Penn State is the defending Big Ten champion after all.
So. Oh, yeah. And who knows? Maybe this is the year they take that next big step. Maybe they could dethrone them and maybe be a playoff team.
Very possible. We'll see. Maryland against number 23 Texas, high noon on FS1.
I got the Texas Longhorns winning this one. There's no way they're losing at home on their opener.
12:30 on the ACC network, Bethune-Cookman against number 18 Miami Hurricanes, the U.
It's all about the U. I got the Miami Hurricanes winning this one.
UTEP squaring off against number 7 Oklahoma, 3:30 on Fox.
Well, what can you say? This is a new era in Oklahoma football. I mean, the first game in the new regime. I mean, first game without Bob Stoops, and I'll tell you this. I mean, I think they're going to get on the right track here. I got Oklahoma winning this one.
And this is the first of our 3 huge games of the week. The number 2 game of the week. Your team, number 11 Michigan, number 17 Florida, in Jerry World at AT&T Stadium, 3:30 on ABC. Who you got there, my man?
I'll tell you what. I mean, Michigan, I mean, I think they got a huge chip on their shoulder because many people feel like they should have won that Big Ten title, and especially after the way they lost that last game to Ohio State, in a classic thriller. So I think Michigan's going to get on the right track here, and let's not forget a couple of key players for Florida have been suspended for this game, so that could be a huge factor. So I got the Michigan Wolverines winning this one.
Stony Brook against number 19 South Florida, 4:00 on ESPN3.
I got South Florida winning this one.
Here's one of our many sleeper games of the week. Western Michigan squaring off against number 4 USC at the LA Coliseum. 5:15 kickoff on the Pac-12 network.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a sleeper game to definitely keep an eye on. But this is a big one for USC because they're starting this preseason as the number 4 team in the nation, and let's see if they can actually play well this season and remain in the polls. So I got the USC Trojans winning this one.
Another sleeper matchup, Appalachian State, 10 year anniversary of their upset of Michigan. They're squaring off against Maiden Georgia Bulldogs. They're ranked number 15, Sanford Stadium, 6:15 on ESPN. Can Appalachian State do what they did 10 years ago?
Man, I mean, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since Appalachian State did the impossible when they went into Michigan and upset the Michigan Wolverines. And I had a shocked look on my face. I'm sure everybody else did. I mean, I can only imagine what Fletcher must have been thinking that day to see the Michigan Wolverines lose that one. Do I see a repeat here? Not in your life. I got the Georgia Bulldogs winning this one. I think Georgia's going to take this Appalachian State team seriously and not make that same mistake that Michigan did 10 years ago. Because I'll tell you this right now, if Georgia loses this one, I wouldn't be surprised if they go from number 15 to being out of the polls.
Very possible. Very possible. Central Arkansas against number 20 Kansas State, 7:10 kickoff on ESPN3.
I got Kansas State winning this one.
Georgia Southern squaring off against number 12 Auburn, 7:30 on the SEC network.
Yeah, I got the Auburn Tigers winning this one. No problem.
Sleeper matchup. Number 16 Louisville squaring off against Purdue at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, 7:30 on Fox.
Yeah, I got I got Louisville winning this one, no problem here. But oh boy, Florida, let's get to the big one.
Number 3 Florida State, number 1 Alabama, the brand new Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, 8:00 on ABC. The game of the week, in what many are calling the biggest opening week game in college football history.
Well, there's really nothing to say here. I mean, this is definitely the game of the week, and I have to say, I mean, and I have to agree. I think this is the biggest opening game of the ever in the history of college football. I mean, what a way to officially have the first big game at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I mean, because remember, the Atlanta Falcons have had preseason games there, but this one here, this is the first true big game at the new stadium. And number 3 Florida State, number 1 Alabama. Alabama is playing with a chip on its shoulder after losing in heartbreaking fashion in that 5-star classic national championship game earlier this year. And Florida State, they're out to prove something. They're out to prove they're ready to be the number one team in the nation. Can they do it? Can Florida State beat Alabama? Oh, this is a tough one. But I'm interested to hear who did you go with, Florio?
I was about to tell you, MF and I split. I picked Alabama. MF picked Florida State. Who do you agree with?
Oh, this is tough. Well, you know what? I'm calling for it. I'm calling for an upset. Number 3, Florida State is going to upset Alabama in what I think is going to be a 5-star classic game. And the only reason why I'm saying it is, how is the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, going to do under a new offensive coordinator? Because remember, they did have Steve Sarkisian, and then, of course, I think it was Lane Kiffin to start the last season, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, can Jalen Hurts adjust to this new offensive coordinator? I think it could take a little bit, and I think Florida State's going to take advantage of it. So I'm going for the upset, and I'm going to say Florida State upsets Alabama in a 5-star classic game, and they're going to take over that number 1 spot when the new polls come out.
If they do win that game, I think they'll most certainly be number 1 in our first power poll next week. All right, another sleeper matchup: BYU against number 13 LSU at the Superdome in New Orleans. It was supposed to be in Houston, but because of Hurricane Harvey, obviously, it got moved to New Orleans. So your thoughts on BYU and LSU?
Yeah, I got the LSU Tigers winning this one.
You had LSU?
Yeah, LSU.
Yep. That's by the way, that's a 9:30 kickoff on ESPN. And the final Saturday game, Montana State against number 24 Washington State, 10:30 on FS1.
Yeah, I got Washington State winning that game.
Fair enough. And then Sunday night, our number 3 game of the week, number 22 West Virginia against number 21 Virginia Tech at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, 7:30 ABC Sunday night. Who you got there?
I got the Virginia Tech Hokies winning this one.
Okay, fair enough. And our final game, Labor Day, Monday night, number 25 Tennessee against Georgia Tech, also at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Who do you like in this Labor Day finale?
This is a tough one, but I'm going to say Georgia Tech pulls off. I mean, this is sort of, you could say this is sort of like a home game for them. Playing at the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I'm going to say Georgia Tech pulls it off.
All right. Okay. So that's it, folks. We're done for this week. Our first week, our season premiere of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, some of the highlights to look forward to next week as part of week 2. Some standout games. Cincinnati against Michigan. Louisville against North Carolina. South Florida against UConn. Pittsburgh against Penn State. Auburn and Clemson. That smells like that's one of our games of the week, but I already know what the game of the week will be next week. Oklahoma and Ohio State. Whoa, daddy. And then how about Georgia going up against Notre Dame under the lights at Notre Dame Stadium? That's going to be a fun one. And, of course, how about Stanford and USC in the Coliseum? And then Boise State against Washington State. Ooh, we got some good ones next week, guys. Looking forward to those are just some of the standout games for next week that we're going to get into here on College Football Thursday. So, all right, tomorrow night we'll be back with you. We got our, I guess you could call this our season premiere of NFL Friday, as we're going to preview the NFL season, division by division, who we like, and we'll also give you our prediction for the opening game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots. We'll give you our thoughts on that. And then Monday night, of course, we got Ridiculously Raw. Tuesday night, Cerebral Smack Talk. College Football Thursday next week, and then which features our first Power Poll. And then next Friday will be our official start of NFL Friday when we preview the rest of the slate for Week 1. No power rankings for that either. So that's it, guys. So until tomorrow night for our NFL preview edition of NFL Friday, it's Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Dede Woodson and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for our NFL preview edition of NFL Friday, you've been watching the season premiere of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday right here on the Tone 25 at YouTube.com. And remember, well, that's the other show. Sorry about that. I'm just so excited about this. So for now, Anthony Florio, so long.